Hey everyone, it's Jason from EskimoTV.net, and today I'm going to be reviewing a lot of films that I have not had the chance to talk about on this channel. It is a busy season, it's awards season. I'm getting a lot of invites to different films to consider from the movie studios, and so I've not had a chance to update with some of those films that I've seen. So there are a lot of movies this year that start with the word "the." We have The Fabelmans, The Whale, The Inspection, The Menu. And so I'm going to start off with those, and then I'll talk about a few others after. These will not be full-on reviews. I have not wrote a big piece for each of these. This is just going to be a little snippet of what I thought about each of these, just to give you a preview of what I think you should see this holiday season. And so with that being said, we're going to go ahead and start off with The Fabelmans. This is a Steven Spielberg film, and this is based actually on his life as a filmmaker, his journey to falling in love with the filmmaking process. And this is one of my favorite films from this year. My quote that I submitted to the studio when the film was over is that this is the best film about a filmmaker's journey. The screenplay is full of intriguing, emotional, and surprisingly hilarious scenes. There's so much to admire throughout the film. There is a lot of story being told over the course of 2.5 hours. This is a very long, beefy film. However, Spielberg is so talented, it doesn't feel like it's so long because there's so much story that's told within that time. We follow this young man from when he is a youngster all the way till he's starting his big boy job career in the film industry. And so Spielberg finds a lot of ways to keep the story interesting. There's parts that are very saddening, and there's parts that are very funny, and there's a lot to admire throughout this very creative screenplay. This is a unique film. I have not seen another film that is like this, that highlights a filmmaker's journey. And if you haven't heard too much about The Fabelmans, here's a little snippet from IMDb. It says, growing up in post-World War II era Arizona, young Sammy Fabelman, this is the gentleman that's supposed to be representing Steven Spielberg, aspires to become a filmmaker as he reaches adolescence, but soon discovers a shattering family secret and explores how the power of films can help him see the truth. And so this is a wonderful film. It has terrific acting in it, particularly Michelle Williams. I would love to see her get a nomination and even maybe win. She might be my favorite female performance from this year. And I mean, I thought Cate Blanchett, which is kind of the front runner in the actress category, is doing really well. But Michelle Williams personally was my favorite. She gives a very complex performance during this runtime. And so I did think that there was a lot to admire in here amidst from the acting, the cinematography. This movie is very beautiful. You can tell there is a mastermind behind all of the scenes that just look phenomenal and breathtaking. A lot of scenes are riveting, composed really well. The way the camera moves around particular characters. There's one scene where this character is finding out something pivotal about his mom, and the way the camera moves around him, I thought, was very simple yet effective. The colors, the scenery, there's so much to admire. I don't call many films perfect, but this is one where you just can't help but admire all of this director's previous experience pouring out to create this masterpiece. So Fabelmans is going to be one of my favorite films of the year, and I think that you should go check it out. The next movie I'm going to talk about is The Whale. This is the story of an obese, this is quote from the IMDb page, about a reclusive English teacher. He's very obese, who attempts to reconnect with his estranged teenage daughter. And so what I wrote for my pull quote for the studio on my comment card is that this was the best film of the year. I was blown away by this film. I really actually put this is the best film of the year, despite its isolated location. This all takes place in one location. The screenplay was gripping from beginning to end amidst terrific acting, and I absolutely love it. I gave this film an A plus. I gave The Fabelmans, by the way, an A. So I'll try to give you my grades for each of these as I go throughout them. But The Whale was absolutely gripping from beginning to end. This is a almost 2-hour film that takes place in one location. Once again, just like The Fabelmans, very unique. This is like an obese 600-pound man that can't do much. And he's an English professor teaching virtually, but he keeps his camera off. And there's much to admire about the film. This is a Darren Aronofsky film. Brendan Fraser plays the teacher that has a lot of health problems. He's gonna die, and we see him trying to connect with his daughter, who's played by Sadie Sink from Stranger Things. And she's absolutely phenomenal. She is a brutal, evil beast, and I could not help but feel empathy for our protagonist. And the way he responds to her, still wanting to believe in her and have hope, was heartbreaking to see, because it's in all parents, I think, to wish and hope for the best for their children. But when you see how corrupt and unempathetic she is for him, it's just absolutely it cut my heart a little bit. I might have shed a tear during The Whale. So I recommend you go check that one out. That as of right now was my favorite film so far this year, but that could change. I'm not putting that as number one until the year ends. I still have a few more films to see, but I definitely think The Whale, that you should go check it out. Next up, we're going to be talking about The Inspection. The IMDb page for this says, a young gay black man rejected by his mother and with few options for his future decides to join the Marines, doing whatever it takes to succeed in a system that would cast him aside. And this is another, once again, heartbreaking film. I tend to lean heavily into these films that have a lot of emotion, and I absolutely loved it. This was gripping from beginning to end. I got to see it here at a film festival here in Houston. My quote that I gave to the studio upon the ending of the film was that this was a unique, engaging look at life in the military in 2005. This is when the story takes place. It's based on a true story, by the way, based on director Elegance Bratton's life. And so really sad when you see everything that happens in this story. I thought that this was beautifully acted. It was heartbreaking. And the score was absolutely phenomenal. So I also gave this film an A. This usually I don't give this many A's, but all of these films that I've mentioned up to this point in this video series have been absolutely gripping, some of my favorites from this year. Particularly Jeremy Pope, who plays our lead protagonist, Ellis French, gives such a good performance. He does not have too much dialogue, but it's his subtleties. You can just tell that he's heartbroken. There's a scene at the beginning of the film just to establish him and his mom's relationship, where she forces him, before he sits down on her couch, to sit on some newspaper because he's gay and she doesn't want him to corrupt her home. So sad to even think that that's a thing. But I thought that the story choices that director made were very well chosen, and I thought that the story, you usually see stories about homosexuals being mistreated, but this particular story about him in the Marines was very unique, and I thought the fact that he had to keep this a secret because at that time people had hatred for people that had same-sex attractions, particularly in military and Marine life. And so the fact that he has to go in and keep this a secret, and when that starts to come out, I thought it was absolutely heartbreaking to see how that all goes down. So that's one of my favorites of the year, and that is The Inspection. Next up, we have The Menu. The Menu is a black comedy horror film. The IMDb page summary for this says that this is about a young couple traveling to a remote island to eat at an exclusive restaurant where the chef has prepared a lavish menu with some shocking surprises. So, this is a film that I'm surprised I liked because it meshes humor with horror, and normally those tones meshing together don't work out too well for me because then I'm not really too sure if I'm supposed to take the film seriously or if I'm supposed to laugh. However, this film is absolutely great at holding you in suspense. When these people get to this island, this sinister chef, played sinisterly by Mr. Ralph Fiennes, starts to do things, and there's a climactic moment where something absolutely earth-shattering happens, where I was in suspense as to why some of these choices were being made. They come to this island, all these food critics come, and they are going to be served by this master chef. And when something, I don't want to spoil the film, but when something crazy off the wall that you wouldn't expect to happen happens on this island, I was interested getting to the end to see what is the deal. Why are all these people that work for this master chef and the master chef himself, why are they making these choices? Now, the ending I felt was a little underwhelming because they didn't really give me an answer that was satisfying. It kind of leans into its dark humor, but the way they play it out, I was along to tag along for that. I was down to tag along for that journey because the way that they executed it was gripping, and I thought Anna Taylor-Joy's performance is one of the couples that kind of isn't a big fan like the rest of the people there are of this chef. I thought that she gave a really good performance, and my quote for The Menu was that despite being unrealistically hokey, kind of have a suspension of disbelief here. Despite that, the Menu's screenplay is thrilling, engaging, and a delicious time. Great acting across the board. I gave this film a B+, and so I recommend if that premise, that setup intrigues you, you go check it out. I think it'll definitely be a fun time. All right, moving on. We're going to talk about She Said. We've finished all the movies that start with the word the. Here's a little synopsis of the film She Said. New York Times reporters break one of the most important stories in a generation, a story that helped ignite a movement and shattered decades of silence around the subject of sexual assault in Hollywood, particularly with Mr. Harvey Weinstein. And so this was my initial thoughts leaving the theater of She Said. I put, despite numerous scenes that felt repetitive, the film does beautifully display the challenge of a journalist on these particular issues. Wonderfully acted, and it had a really good score. I gave this film a B. I liked She Said. I liked the story that it was trying to tell, but like my initial comment mentioned, I did feel that it was a bit repetitive. You have these journalists that are going from woman to woman that are telling them that they don't feel comfortable going on the record to share their story about what these Hollywood, what these people in Hollywood did to them, particularly Harvey Weinstein. And it's heartbreaking to see all these horror stories, but no one wants to go out and say it because they have these fears about what other people will think or if they'll be believed. But how do you tell this story if no one's willing to talk? And so you see these really hardworking journalists trying to get this story out there, and definitely has similarities to Spotlight, the film. But I did feel that repetitiveness, and this is a long film, this is 129 minutes, did slow the pacing down a little bit. Now, did they need to do that? I think so, because the benefit of having these repetitive scenes is that you sort of get to feel what a journalist feels like. Although, that is a little aggravating, I would think. So you get to sit there in their frustration and at the same time be aggravated that you're seeing them go through this very cumbersome process of having to dig deeper and deeper and deeper. Their resilience and persistency is admirable, and the ending of the film was a joy to watch and see how that particularly unfolds. So like I said, I gave that film She Said a B. Moving on, we're going to talk about women talking. The IMDb synopsis for this says, "Do nothing, stay and fight, or leave." In 2010, the women of an isolated religious community grapple with reconciling a brutal reality with their faith. And so I got to see this at a film festival, the same film festival as The Inspection, the Cinema Arts Festival here in Houston. This was a really powerful film. This had a lot of stuff to say regarding this issue of rape. And what I wrote for my comment card that I submitted to the studio, I put that this was a powerful film showcasing the true pressure that these women who were raped faced. I thought that it was beautifully acted and had the best score of this year, Women Talking, that has my vote for best score of the year, which played a huge part in sustaining the attention of the audience. This is a pretty lengthy film. This is actually, it's not as long as I thought. It's an hour and 44 minutes. It did feel long to me, and that's kind of one of my complaints about the film. It takes place in one location. It's very dialogue heavy, and there's not too much action between the characters. It's like, what are we going to do? Are we going to do nothing? Are we going to stay and fight? Or are we going to leave? And I think one of the things that helped sustain the attention the most was this very beautiful, emotional score that was done by Hildur, and I cannot pronounce her last name, the lady that did the Joker. I'm not even going to try it. Okay, here I go trying it. Hildur Guanaditor. I'll need to Google it. But this score is absolutely fantastic. And when I am trying to focus on something here at work or trying to get something done, I have a playlist on Spotify of focus music, and it helps me focus on whatever it is that I'm doing. This is a film you have to really pay close attention to what all these characters are saying, what they're thinking. There's a lot of characters to learn, and I felt like this score helped me focus in on who all these characters were and what they were saying, and it made it just all that more engaging to watch. As well, the acting was fantastic. You had a star cast for this film, and so I absolutely really liked it. Rooney Mara, Claire Foy, Jessie Buckley, a lot of big names on this film. So it feels a little long. It's isolated in one location, but good subject. And so if that premise intrigues you, it's another film I'd recommend. All right, moving on, we're going to talk about Spoiler Alert. This is a tearjerker. I was surprised at this film. For a long time in this film, I thought this is going to be just a run-of-the-mill love story. For a while, I was feeling I'd probably give this a B or B-, but the last 20 or 30 minutes ranked the grade up a whole letter grade. I'm giving this an A-, spoiler alert. My quote was, despite being a straightforward, slow-burning love story that is elevated by wonderful performances, Spoiler Alert drops a bombshell of emotions during the final act that was a beautiful, pleasant surprise. It's that last act that makes the film a worthy payoff. And so if you're not sure what the film Spoiler Alert's about, I'm going to give you a little synopsis from the IMDb page. It's a typical love story between two men. This is the story of Michael Ausilio and Kit Cowan's relationship that takes a tragic turn when Cowan is diagnosed with terminal cancer. And we see that a little bit at the beginning of the film, and then Michael, who's played by Jim Parsons, by the way, who I love from Big Bang Theory, he plays a really serious role in there, and I was kind of worried for a little bit, am I gonna be thinking too much of Sheldon while I'm watching this film. But no, he really gets into this character, and I just totally started to believe this new character he was playing, despite me seeing so much of him in Big Bang. But we see the story from his perspective, and what the film does so well is allow you to fall in love with the characters. Now, the way they fall in love and them being in love, I thought it was kind of a run-of-the-mill love story. I mean, it's kind of hard to do something different when you've seen so many love stories. I thought it was fine. I didn't hate it, but I wasn't in love with like the first half of the film. I just thought, well, that's cute. But then when you really start to see this terminal cancer take over, you really feel the weight and sacrifice that Michael Ausilio, Jim Parsons' character, is feeling. And I thought it was that moment is done so tragically, and it got a lot of tears out of me. I don't typically cry at films, but I had a surprise river of tears on that last act of Spoiler Alert. So that's probably good. That was a surprise. I did not expect, when I'm watching a movie, by the time I get to the third act, I kind of know what I'm going to think about it. But that film was a huge surprise. All right, moving on. I got one more I'm going to talk about, an animated film that I got to see called Strange World. And the little IMDb synopsis of this says, the legendary Clades are a family of explorers whose differences threaten to topple their latest and most crucial mission. So this is the latest Disney film. This was okay. I wasn't blown away by it. I think best animated film of this year is Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, and I thought even Pixar's Turning Red and Lightyear were better than this film. My comment card that I wrote for the studio was that Strange World is a beautiful visual marvel that has many great themes throughout it. It does feel to meander, as it has many plot shifts / objectives that its characters aim to achieve, but overall it's a fairly decent family film. And so this film just doesn't feel like it has nothing new to offer that we haven't seen before in previous adventure films. It does have some admirable characters, but it just didn't connect with me as other films that have been made by Disney and Pixar in the past. And so it's fine if you want to take your kids to go see it. I didn't hate my life after I left. I wasn't begging for the film to be over, but there's just better stuff that I've seen this year, and I wasn't not that impressed. But I did think it was good themes for kids and a nice little quick kids movie. And so those are my thoughts on a lot of the films that I've seen this year. What are we at? 23 minutes. I'm a little sad I recorded this earlier. This was a 15-minute recording, and I was not recording, so I had to redo it. But this take went better, so maybe it was everything happens for a reason. But that is kind of a lot of the films that I've seen over the past month. Fabelmans, The Whale, those are probably my favorite. The Inspection, those 3 films are so good. You should go check it out. Spoiler alert, those films are my favorite 4 from the list that I talked about today. I think you should go see them. But what do you think about these films? I want to know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed my quick thoughts on each of these films, hit that thumbs up button, and you can even share this with your friends to let them know what this crazy guy thinks about these films that are coming out this holiday season. So thank you all once again so much for watching this. If you want to check out more reviews, you can check out this channel. You can also check out the website, EskimoTV.net, for more reviews from myself as well as other authors. Thank you all so much. Once again, my name is Jason Escamilla from EskimoTV.net.